I'll call to order the Alexander County Board of Commissioners meeting for July 15th. The first two items on the agenda are the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation is going to be given by Vice Chairman Larry Yoder, and the pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Darrell Robertson. If you'll please stand.
Let us pray. Our kind and gracious Most Heavenly Father, we appreciate the opportunity you've given us to gather. Be with each one of us as we go about the business of Alexander County. Be with our national, our state leaders. Be with all of our local leaders. Lord, we'd ask that you'd be with our military personnel, both at home and abroad. See that they get home safely and keep them under your watchful eye. We ask all these things in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is Commissioner's Report. Does any commissioner have any comments or comment they would like to make?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say that I understand that the legislature and the governor of North Carolina have reached an agreement on the reforming of the tax code in the great state of North Carolina. We should be hearing more about that within the next 48 hours. I'm sure that it'll be on the local news tonight at 6 and also on the news at 11. It'll be all over Facebook and be out there for everyone to see. But they have reached an agreement on that, so it looks as they have not voted. The Senate nor the House, neither one have voted. However, they say that they should be calling for this vote either tomorrow or Wednesday. So we should probably have a budget within the next 2 weeks, maybe.
Anything else, Larry?
That's all.
Any other commissioner have any comment? I have one. I made a mistake. When I went to, I have to say this very carefully because I have a state graduate sits to the right of me, but I made a mistake when I gave attribution to Thomas Jefferson for the quote, "The power to tax is the power to destroy," in our last county commission meeting. Thomas Jefferson didn't say that. However, Daniel Webster did say that. He lived between 1782 and 1852. And he said it during a Supreme Court decision, McCulloch versus Maryland, which had to do with taxes and banks and so forth. You're welcome to go on the internet. I've got pages and pages. I even got textbooks left over from my constitutional law courses at Chapel Hill. It bothered me after I left here. I said, and I'm not sure he really said that, and maybe I probably shouldn't even said it in public. But I remembered Thomas Jefferson saying something similar to that. So primarily for the record and for the press, I wanted to correct that quote. Anything else from any of the commissioners? The next thing on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. The agenda is adopted. The next item on the agenda is public comment. And according to Madam Clerk, we don't have anybody that signed up for public comment. So there is no public comment period. The next item on the agenda is item number 2, which is literacy and building community in Alexander County. Laura Crooks, Alexander County Library Director. Laura, if you will step up to the podium, please.
Thank you. I'd like to share with you a little bit about what we do at the library. To give you a quick glance, about what I'll be talking about this evening. I'll start with the impact of literacy on the community, share some information about our current programs and how they support literacy, give an introduction to the EDGE initiative, and then answer any questions you might have. So, Everyone knows that a library has books, and quite a few know that we also have movies and music, public computers, and wireless access, and that we offer help with things like job seeking and setting up email. The other thing people see at libraries is story time. Most people know that a library offers programs, but what I would like to share with you this evening is why. We as the library are part of the community here in Alexander County, and as part of this community, we strive to help build a strong community. The library is a tool available to every person in this county to help in building a culture of lifelong literacy. Building and strengthening a viable economic and educational environment begins with a community culture that recognizes literacy as a valuable component, as a key tool in implementing change in one's own life. I would like to share a few facts with you. 14% of adults in Alexander County lack basic prose literacy. This is equal to the state average, and for us, this means approximately 5,200 people who are either unable to read at all or who can only read at the very simplest information. I think it's significant to add to this data that the poverty level for children under age 5 in Alexander County is at 20.5%. So you can consider that 1 in 5 of the children you see every day is living in poverty. Our economic future depends on providing the tools for upward mobility and building highly educated, skilled workforce, and yet 14% of our adult population still lack the skills necessary to take advantage of the education that our county offers. Alexander County has the school system, we have the community college, and we have the public library. The library provides free access to every person in Alexander County with no exclusions based on creed or culture or socioeconomic standing. We offer the opportunity to improve the quality of life. Alexander County Library programs build and strengthen traditional book literacy at all stages in life. The programs are designed to encourage a lifelong love of learning. I'd like to share with you some information about the programs we currently offer at the library. For young children, we have story times. These include developmentally appropriate books, music, and movement. We have baby time for ages birth to 12 months. We have preschool story time, which is up to age 5. We also do outreach. Our children's librarian visits area preschools to do those story times. For school-age children, we have A Tale for Abby, which offers reluctant readers an opportunity to gain confidence by practice in that non-judgmental area with the dogs, the certified therapy dogs. We have Abby and Cowboy currently. The summer reading program, we participate in the National Collaborative Summer Reading Program for children from birth to age 18, which encourages school children and their families to keep reading through the summer, so they start school in the fall at the same reading level they achieved when school let out in the spring. For teens, we have the Teen Book Club, the Yayas, and they read a selection of popular novels and classic literature for discussion. Teen Poetry Happens offers teen writers, artists, and musicians an opportunity to gather and create and share a love of literature and the arts. They publish an annual literary and arts magazine called the Alexander Muse in collaboration with the Alexander County High School. We also have lock-ins that are book-themed activities after hours. Teens collaborate with other teens in libraries across the nation, and they Skype to meet authors of young adult novels. In the PowerPoint, we can see that's author Ilse Bick during the 2012 Summer Reading Lock-in. Actually answered questions from our kids, carried on conversations with our library. Our teen programming is now recognized for excellence on the national level. Melissa Hager, our youth services librarian, was selected to present her strategies for developing and implementing teen programs at the National Association of Rural and Small Libraries Conference in October of 2012. She has also been invited to be the keynote speaker at the Colorado Library Association Conference in October 2013. We are developing programs for adults as well. We currently offer in poetry and the arts. The Bethlehem branch holds annual poetry readings in February and bi-monthly exhibits by local and regional artists. The exhibits are so popular that we are now booked into 2015, thanks to Bud Kaywood, who coordinates this program. Groundbreaking Reads is part of that National Collaborative Summer Reading Program. Adults this summer will be keeping a running total of how many pages they read. Each Alexander County adult who enjoys reading is invited to sign up and participate. Brevity is an internet-based short story book club with open participation. Amuse is our first literary and arts magazines for writers, artists, and photographers over age 18. We're currently accepting submissions for fall publication. Alexander County Listening Library is a reading on the radio program in partnership with Apple City Broadcasting to bring literary opportunities to those who can't visit us at the library. One of our most important goals is to continue to find new ways to reach out to the community and provide access to information and opportunities to those who do not currently take advantage of the services we offer at the library. A more recently identified type of literacy is computer literacy, or technological literacy. The world of information and communication is changing so quickly that it can be difficult, if not impossible, for an individual to keep up. Job applications must be filled out online, resumes submitted, classes attended, research gathered and cited from the internet. So we ask the question, is the library meeting the needs of the community? Our library was selected to be one of the first institutions in the country to participate in the soft launch of the EDGE initiative. This initiative will go national in 2014. The EDGE is a coalition of 13 organizations, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and led by the Urban Libraries League, collaborating to help public libraries provide all people with the opportunity to enrich and improve their lives through open access to information, communication, and technology services. We have already participated in the first step of the soft launch, the technology assessment. We compared our library to technology service benchmarks designed by the EDGE Coalition. Among the benchmarks, we were evaluated for digital literacy training, digital technologies offered, strategic partnerships, and staff expertise, to name a few. What we've discovered from this initial assessment is that our library has a great many opportunities to improve its technology offerings to the community. For example, the level 1 or basic foundational services, the minimum number for public computer use hours available per capita, where everyone to use the exact same number of hours perfectly equally, is 3 hours per year. Alexander County Library, based on the number of computers we have, the number of hours we're open, and our population size, is currently offering 1.19 hours per year, which is not even half the minimum benchmark. The next step in the EDGE initiative will be comparing our data to that of other libraries in the state and to libraries similar to ours across the nation. I've provided the commissioners with a copy of the EDGE benchmarks, and when we have state and national data, I'll be able to present meaningful results based on our assessment. We currently have so much room to grow that it's hard to tell which direction to go. So the library will be surveying the community for input to guide our choices in technology services. I'd like to encourage everyone in the community to participate. We can't bring the most efficient or effective service to the community unless we know what you need. I look forward to developing services that help strengthen our community, and can I answer any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Crook?
Mr. Chairman, I do. We can obviously see that, libraries are not just a place to borrow books and read old newspapers now. So what do you think the public library, not just here, but overall, what do you think the public library is going to look like in 30 years? Because I'm looking back to the last time that I went to the library a lot, which was when I was a kid. So, no one could imagine what we were going to have today 30 years ago.
Right. A friend of mine actually just sent me a beautiful old picture, an old photograph of a library in Ohio that was built with, the shelves went 4 or 5 floors high with balconies, just books from top to bottom. And we're not going to continue to look like that. I think we will always have books, but I see the trends that I see out there in other libraries and the needs that I'm hearing just from people coming in the library, not from surveying yet. No needs assessment has been performed since, well, it's been quite a few years. But I see more need for spaces where people can gather, communicate with each other. They need that internet connection, which in a county like ours, we don't have broadband throughout the whole county. So a library like ours can be a hotspot. We can potentially take hotspots out to the county. In fact, the directors in North Carolina were recently just discussing what would you do if you had massively increased broadband access, and everyone was sounding off on what they thought they could offer. But we're primarily about access to information. It was traditionally books. That was the method of conveying information. Now we have the internet, so you see our public computers, you see our wireless access. In addition to that, everything is so digital. They shop online, they talk online, everyone's Facebook friends, your friends are all online. We don't see each other face to face like we used to. And gathering places for people who talk. You mentioned Thomas Jefferson. Those founding fathers talked. They talked with each other. They carried on conversations. They thought about things. And I could see the libraries in general being places where people can gather to think and talk and build on that communication that they don't get through the digital world. Not a short
So
answer.
what I hear you saying, and I know you're not saying it, but you're about out of space and you need more computer stations.
Well, I have options. We are very tight on space. We have trimmed back some of the information from our collection that could be old medical texts that are outdated and general science texts, the things that are no longer helpful, things, annual yearbooks, things that are information that's immediate is just, it's better from the internet. You can get that high-quality information. We do have access to NC Live, which is paid databases that the state library funds for us. So high-quality information from the internet that's immediate. So that kind of thing can be trimmed back, and we make a little bit of space. Based on the size of our computer desks, we could not fit any more computer tables. However, the laptop exists. So the direction I'm imagining for added computer stations would actually be laptops. We wouldn't be the first to do it, to check out a laptop to a patron in the library. They could then find a place to sit in the library, which is kind of at a premium some days. We do have a table in the back with a lot of power plug-ins now, but they would be able to check out that computer and have that access even if they didn't have the device. A lot of people come in with their own laptops and use the wireless. That's very good. We have so far not seen a lack in broadband availability for our patrons, but some don't have any option, and our computers, when they're full, and having those laptops, which people could then check out within the computer, within the library, would offer us the option of extra computer stations. It would also offer the option of, one of the things in the benchmark was digital literacy training. We don't really have the ability to offer classes. We don't have a lab. However, if we had 5 laptops, 5 people could sign up, we could all gather. At the moment, we don't have a good space, but we could try that reference area, somewhere like that. We could add those people that could pull up chairs to the computer area, and we could do something where everyone had that computer access. So despite the tight space, I think we have directions to go to add to what we have to offer devices.
Any other questions?
How many children do you have involved in the reading program this summer?
I have not gotten a total from Mel. I just haven't thought to ask because when we're right in the middle of it, it's wild and crazy. We have a wonderful time. The wall is covered again with nameplates, and I can get that to you. I know last year we had 700, so I would imagine very similar. It's very. We have extremely good attendance, and
Right.
yeah, that's.
Did I understand you right when you said that the average visitor to the library, their use of the internet was 3 hours average? Is that what you meant?
What that is just a formula for determining whether the library provides sufficient access time and access devices. So we have to, they did the math for us, but I have the formula and I could send that along as well. Actually, no, I think I have to send that along. It's not in with the benchmarks. But it looks at the number of computers you have and the number of hours you're available for people to come in and use them, and then what your service area population is. So the number they get is not realistic in terms that, to say 3 hours a year, that would be if every single person in Alexander County, all 37,000 people, used the computer an equal amount of time, which doesn't happen, but some people come in every day for 3 hours and some people never come in the library. So that gives us something to work with. And although I don't thoroughly understand how they developed that, the EDGE initiative, that coalition, I know it includes, I think actually they're listed in your benchmark packet. It tells you who all's in that. And they determined that formula as a base for whether you're offering sufficient service access to devices.
But
So-
you have no way of knowing what those 3 hours they might be doing on it. They could be playing games, they could be
Well,
Facebook and
just
whatever.
anecdotal evidence, they do a little of everything. We have people every day doing job applications, doing resumes, doing online classes. We have requests to proctor tests from online classes. We have requests to help with resumes, with papers, with job applications. People come, they visit the Employment Security Commission, and then they come to us, and so that they can sit at the computer and work in relative quiet, and yet have someone that they can ask for help. And we still have people playing games, but we also have people who read popular fiction. So to say that you can read popular fiction in addition to nonfiction, but you can only do work on computers is a bit of a double standard. Computers, having that access, we don't limit them with the exception of certain things that are in our policies not allowed to be viewed in places where there are children. So we don't restrict what they do. We just restrict the amount of time they use the computer to make it fair, to make sure that everyone who comes in has that opportunity to go on and do work.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Laura, appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura.
Having us
Thank you.
here tonight.
We're at item 3 on the agenda, Precision Materials Building Reuse Grant. David Eisenhower.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to announce to you that the North Carolina Rural Economic Development Center has awarded Alexander County a building reuse grant in the amount of $25,000 for the benefit of Precision Materials. The company is located on NC 16 South. They produce a variety of wood parts, fiberglass parts, composite parts, and they also make furniture for Ncaa and Williams-Sonoma currently. They have, at the time of the application, 14 full-time employees and have pledged a minimum of 5 new full-time employees in order to meet the requirements of the grant program. In addition, the company will invest a minimum of $50,000 in renovations to their facility. These renovations will include primarily upgrades to the lighting system in the manufacturing area, but will also include some renovations to employee areas, break rooms, restrooms, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. Chairman, while this program is typically referred to as a grant, I do want to point out that it's actually a loan program. The North Carolina Rural Center loans the money to Alexander County government. Alexander County provides the money to the company, and as long as the company meets their job creation requirements, the loan is forgiven. And so then it becomes more of a grant program. There is a county match that's required with these grants. In this case, we will meet our match requirement through the time that I spent preparing the application, administering the grant fund. So we'll be able to provide the $25,000 to the company at no cost, no actual cash outlay from Alexander County. It's unfortunate tonight that Mr. Scott McHugh, who is president of the company, was unable to attend, but he did want me to express his appreciation to Alexander County for your participation in this program. And he also wanted me to stress the importance to his small company to receive this type of money, which is actually allowing him to expand his full-time workforce by roughly 35%. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that's my short presentation on the grant award. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have about the building reuse program or this particular grant.
David, I have one short
sir.
question. How long do they have to create these new?
The company has 18 months to create the jobs that they pledge. They have to keep the jobs for 6 months. So once they've, at any point during that 18 months, if the company reaches their job creation goal, they inform me, a new clock starts ticking. We check their unemployment tax filings to make sure that they've created the job. 6 months later, we get another report from Employment Security Commission that those jobs are still there. I inform the Rural Center, and the Rural Center will release the company and the county from any obligations for the grant.
Okay. Any questions of David?
Got a question. What's the time frame, David? NC Rural Center has made the award.
Yes.
When will the money transfer? When will they be able to implement their changes and start?
Well, tonight, you have a budget, a project ordinance on the agenda. Once that's signed, we get that signed by the company. I'll get that back to the Rural Center, and the company can actually start turning in paid receipts for grant money immediately, pretty much. And the way the program works is it's refundable. So in order for the company to get this particular $25,000, they have to spend $50 minimum in order to get that money. It's only a half match of renovation.
Is it strictly renovation?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, this particular program is for renovation of a building, basically anything that's connected to a building that couldn't be easily removed from the building.
And the employee's salary cannot be included, it has?
No, no.
Okay.
Any other questions of David?
No, I just wanted to make a comment that it seems like about every meeting or every other meeting, you're coming to us telling us about new jobs being created, so that's a good thing.
Well, we've been a little fortunate lately. Existing industry is trying to create new jobs.
Yeah.
And as you know, that's where the bulk of the jobs are going to come from anyway.
If there's a link between our meeting and you bringing jobs, we can meet more often.
Let's meet more often.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, I understand that the unemployment rate in Alexander County went up the last month.
Went up a little bit.
A little
Yes, ma'am.
bit.
Yeah, but we're still under most of the surrounding counties.
Yeah,
So, we're basically all in the same
Yeah.
boat when it comes to that.
I thought we were the lowest of the surrounding
Well,
counties.
Iredell is typically just a little bit lower, and I believe they were a little bit lower this month, or last month.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions of David? David, thank you a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the designation of voting delegate to the NCAACC Annual Conference, which is going to be held, I think it's the 106th Annual Conference, August 22nd through 25th in Greensboro. Do I have any nominations for that position?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Larry Yoder.
I'll second it.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Mr. Yoder, you have been designated as the voting delegate. And I think there's a form that needs to be filled out in the package. So if you'll take care of that.
I didn't ask him if he was interested in that, so
I'm going to be there the entire time, so I don't mind at all. Don't mind at all.
Well, we need something out of you.
Oh, you'll get it. You'll get it.
You're a wallflower and you won't say much, I'm sure, but
I probably won't say very much.
I was saying, right. The next item on the agenda is the sales tax report, and I will turn it over to County Manager Rick French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Included in your packets, you have the sales tax report for 10 months. The total for the first 10 months of the 2012-2013 fiscal year is $3,025,402. That's 83, almost 84% of what we budgeted, which was $3,609,000. So far, compared to last year at the same time, we were just a little bit over $3 million. So we're $25,159 ahead, which is the good news. But the bad news is the sales tax hold harmless set aside for school construction and debt service is $80,893 for the first 10-month period. So we're running behind in that regard. But sales tax numbers are pretty steady, pretty flat. But again, for 10 months, we've collected $3,025,402. And just as general information, this is the sales tax report for, our sales tax runs 2 months behind from the state to the counties, so that we're still talking about 2012, 2013 fiscal year. So we'll be talking about this a couple more months. So I'll be glad to answer any question about sales tax, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. French, I have a thought coming in. Do you think that the time of year has any bearing on the fact that we're, just on the sales tax portion, that we're basically staying even because it's not 84%. For example, people are on vacation, they're out of the county spending money in other counties while they're on vacation. Do you think that has any bearing on the fact that we don't have more sales tax?
Well, the sales tax we received on June the 17th was for March 2013. Since it runs 2 months behind,
It's not going to be affected by the vacation time.
well, it will, but it'll be down the road. Is
Yeah,
that
right, right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In other words, it could be worse
It could be.
for the next 2 months because
But it,
Well,
of vacation.
you got to look at how it's tracking with last year. I mean, we're $25,000 above last year, and unless something is significantly different this year, the other months ought to track kind of in line with last year.
And sales tax is 80 behind.
if you look at the sales tax numbers by the month, if you look at them, there's not a very much of a range. $276,000, one is, it looks like the lowest month that we have, and the last reported month, $325,740. So it's not a lot of range in the sales tax numbers. So they're pretty consistent.
Let me ask a question another way. Based on history, even though we're tracking 2 months in arrears, has summertime impacted sales tax revenue in the county based on your experience?
Yes.
It has decreased sales tax revenue?
Sales tax numbers are usually better during Christmas and during holidays.
What about summertime?
Usually drops just a little bit.
Okay.
Well, if I'm looking at this right, Rick, this is through March, so that's 75% of the year.
Right.
And we have generated round numbers, 84% of our budgeted sales tax. So
That's right.
based on that, it would level off in the summer.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions of Mr. French? Okay, the next item on the agenda, budget ordinance amendment number 1 and project budget ordinance P-1. County Manager Rick French.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. The project ordinance that David Eisenhower spoke of earlier is the budget ordinance, which is the project ordinance, which is P1, which you just mentioned, is for $26,250. You'll see on the second page, the North Carolina Rural Center money is $25,000. The Alexander County match, which is in kind, is $1,250. And there is the project ordinance for Precision Materials Building Innovation Grant Project. Budget ordinance amendment number 1 is to increase full-time and part-time salaries and wages by 5% for the following public safety departments: sheriff, detention, emergency services, 911 communications, and EMS. The pay increase will be effective with the 9/6/13 pay date, and also to increase detention budget for 2 new detention officer positions that were accidentally left out of the fiscal year 2014 budget. The fiscal year 2014 original budget only included 10 new detention officer positions instead of 12 new positions. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman or Commissioners.
The departments you enumerated, what is the total impact of a 5% pay increase?
About $200,000.
And that would be an annual figure?
Yes, sir. Well, it's effective in September, so an annual figure for, I think earlier we looked at 5%. I'd say, yes, sir, around 200,000, maybe just a little over.
And that money was set aside in contingency, was it not,
Yes, sir.
when we passed the budget?
That's correct.
Okay. Can I maybe suggest that we take one at a time and discuss ordinance number P-1 first? And do I have any discussion on P-1?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. I would like to point out that This is not a one-time thing, this $200,000.
No.
This is the,
This is the
Second one.
second one,
P1.
Judy. This is one
Oh,
David just talked
excuse
about.
me for jumping the gun. Now you know.
So any discussion on, we've had a first and second, any discussion? We've had a first and second, is there a motion to approve?
you've got a motion.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. P1 is approved. Now, the next item in that line item in the agenda is budget ordinance amendment number 1, and that is the pay increase, and that is a 5% pay increase, is not, County Manager?
Yes, sir, it is.
Which amounts to $200,000. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the budget ordinance amendment.
Second?
Any discussion?
Now, I would like to point out that this, is this in our packet saying that it is going to be $204,924 is what it's going to cost? Am I looking at the wrong thing?
That's correct.
That's correct. Not 200, 204. Over 10, and this is not just for this year, correct? It will go on forever. For the next 10 years, it'll cost us $2 million. Is
in the
that
form of-
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think, Mr. French, that this is responsible of us at this time, since we are having to take it out of our fund balance, right?
No, well, this was budgeted in contingency. There was a
But
little
it's
over,
gonna have to come out of fund balance.
there's $3 million that was budgeted out of fund balance. There was $300,000 set aside in contingency for salary increases for employees when the budget was approved last month. What this will do is take that $200,000 out of that number.
Okay,
So yes,
I
it
don't
come
know
out
if
of
you-
fund balance, but what I'm saying is that $3 million came out of fund balance total.
we just gave these people a raise 2.5%, did we not? In what, October?
Last year, yes, last budget
And we
year.
didn't have the money to do that, we took it out of fund balance, didn't we?
We didn't take it out of fund balance last year, no ma'am.
We didn't?
No ma'am.
Okay. But this will definitely mean that we will have to raise taxes substantially to do this.
I think you'll have to raise taxes next year, yes ma'am. I do.
Substantially.
I do, yes.
Do you think this is responsible or irresponsible?
I don't think that's for me to say as county manager. I think that's up to the board to decide.
Okay.
Well, regardless if we give this raise or not, we're gonna, the $200,000 is a small part of the budget deficit that we had this past year. We will have to raise property taxes. There's no doubt about it. Even if we don't do this, we will have to raise property taxes.
I would like to correct my esteemed colleague. That's your opinion, that we will have to raise property
But
taxes.
that's true.
So we have a motion.
Chairman, I'd like to make a comment on this because the increase, part of it is for the operation of the new law enforcement center.
That's correct.
And we also have the possibility of generating some revenue for the county out of that, and that is part of the consideration for this, and as I remember, that revenue was about $800,000.
Yeah, 756,000.
Well, that's about 800,000.
Yeah.
That's not bad for my memory, but that ties into this.
That's projecting that. That's not a for sure. So far, we've not taken in any money. It's all going that way.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make one statement, and I'm not going to say anything else. Giving 5% to these two departments, I don't have a problem with that. I think it's totally unfair of this board to give pay increases to these two departments that are well, I feel like they're well deserving it. But at the same time, I think it's totally unfair of us to give a pay increase to the emergency services part of our county and not give pay increase to our other employees. I think that's totally unfair.
Okay, I have a couple of comments I'd like to make. As Commissioner Robertson has said, the state legislature has passed the budget, which has several moving parts to it. One is tax reform, and one is the impact of sales taxes on the counties. Now, it's, as he said, and I don't doubt his word one bit, that has been decided, and we'll get the details of it later. But I'm of the opinion that based on the fact that we have an increase, whether it's a small one or whether it's a large one, increase in the unemployment rate in the county from 8.6 to 9.1 in the last reporting period. Basically, our sales tax revenue is flat. We don't know what the future portends on what the state legislature has done to us. I am against this pay increase because we did give these employees that made $50,000 or less 2.5% pay increase last year, so that's my opinion. But we've had a first and second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor of passing the budget ordinance amendment number 1, raise your right hand. All against, raise your right hand. So it passes 3-2.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I did want to make a comment. I was getting ready to say something before you called for the vote. But, no, I believe that, we've looked at the sheriff asked us to look at the salaries. We did. He's an elected official. Our salaries compared to some of the other counties surrounding us are lower. This will get them up to, right about where the other surrounding counties are at. We're never going to be where Catawba and Caldwell are at. Excuse me, Catawba and Iredell are at. But when you take it for counties our size, this gets us back where we need to be.
I'll make a comment about your comment. Having driven 85 miles one way to work for about 24 years, and these people that work for these departments, I know they're dedicated employees that work for EMS, work for the Sheriff's Department, and all the other counties and our departments that are included in this pay increase are dedicated employees that are valuable to the county. But when you factor in the net in the pocket money that they're going to have with this 5% pay increase, is going to be very little, because if they decided to go to another county to work, they're going to have to pay more for gas. So I respect your opinion. I agree with what you say, but I respectfully disagree that if a person decides to go to another county because they're not satisfied with the pay in this county, I'm not sure how much net increase they're going to have in their pocket with the depreciation of automobiles and so forth. At the AAA, the last time I checked, it was 75 cents per mile. So any other comments? So
Yes, I do. There's nobody representing the taxpayer in this. They're the ones that's gonna have to pay this. And I certainly don't want to be held responsible for such an irresponsible thing as this is. I believe that you should pay attention to what's going on in the private sector as far as unemployment and as employment and what they make. I don't know anybody in the last 4 years that's made more money. Every year their salary is decreased. And you may think it's not much if you stick a $500 increase on a person's tax bill, but I do.
Commissioner Moose, I appreciate your comments, and I would add one more comment, which is there's no use being redundant, but we are responsible for being responsible for the taxpayers' money. And as she said, and I agree with it, in this case, I don't think we were being responsible with the taxpayers' money. Any other comments? Okay, the motion was made and approved. The next item on the agenda is item number 7, which is other business, which is the county manager's report. Rick French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one item to mention tonight. We need to have a work session to discuss code enforcement concerns and problems that we have within the county. I would like to suggest either July 22nd, which is next Monday, or July 29th, which is 2 weeks away, at 6 p.m. at the County Administration Building. If we could set one of those dates tonight would be great.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we do it the 22nd.
I second that motion. Any comments?
The
Any other?
22nd of July.
Yes, at 6 o'clock. This would be in the base of the county administration building.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have any problems with that date?
No, I think that works.
Okay, Mr. French, we'll set the date, we'll agree on the date of July 22nd at 6 o'clock.
Want to vote on it?
We sure can.
I think you got a
All-
motion.
All in favor, if we've got a motion, do we have a second of the motion
I
on the
second
22nd?
it.
Okay, all in favor on the 22nd, raise your right hand. Motion passes, 6 o'clock on the 27th, Mr. French.
Thank you.
Is there anything else in the county manager's report?
No, sir, not this time.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there any questions on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Do I
I'll
have a second?
second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, no questions? Any questions from anybody? All in favor, raise your right hand. Consent agenda has been approved. Just logistically, I want to talk about what's next on the agenda. We're going to adjourn this portion of the public agenda. We're going to move to the back of the room to meet with representatives from Catawba Valley Community College to have a work session. And of course, the public is welcome to stay for the work session. And after the work session, after we close it, we will move into a closed session, and I will make that motion at the appropriate time. So do I hear a motion to close the county commission meeting public agenda at this time?
So moved.
So moved.
Do I
I
hear a
second it.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you.